So good day, everyone. We are the Group 11. Today, we are going to discuss the gains conditions of learning. By the way, I am Maria Cecilia de la Isla, together with Mr. Eliaso Sayron and Ms. Rodriguez Alisa Colin. Next slide, please. So for the overview of this topic, we are going to discuss the conditions of learning, 5 categories of learning outcomes, and the 9 events of instruction. Next slide, please. So for our introduction, in 1965, Robert Gaines published his book entitled The Conditions of Learning. In his book, Gaines 1965 described the analysis of learning objectives and how these different classes of learning objectives relates to the appropriate instructions design. So that's correct. No? In his book, The Conditions of Learning, which is published in 1965, Robert Gaines proposed a systematic approach to instructional designs that was based on his analysis of learning objectives, and that instruction no in that instructional designs will serve as the sequencing no the instructional. So Gaines also argued that different types of learning objectives requires also a different types of instructional designs, and he classified or he identified it the 5 different types of learning outcomes, which are the verbal information, intellectual skills, cognitive strategies, motor skills, and attitudes. But before I discuss this, I have to discuss the conditions of learning. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So here are the conditions of learning, which are the internal condition and the external condition. So Robert Gaines conditions of learning, classified niya to, yun nga, yung internal conditions and yung external conditions. So in internal condition, it is the capabilities that already exist in a learner before of any new learning begins. So these are the mental or cognitive process na ine-engage ng isang learner during the learning process. So that internal conditions of learning includes the uh, prior knowledge ng mga learners, no? Yung motivation, attention, and also their memory. Kasi si Gaines, naniniwala siya na it must be motivated and attentive for the students in order to effectively learn. And that prior knowledge na sinasabi can serve as a foundation for new learning. So sinasabi din ni Gaines na yung memory is also crucial. So as learners, it must be able to retain what they have learned in order to apply it in the future. So yung isang condition naman is yung external condition, which includes different stimulus that exist outside the learners. Ito naman yung mga environmental or yung mga external factors that facilitate learning. So that external conditions of learning includes the design and organizations of instructional materials, like the methods used, para makapag-present ng information, also the feedback and yung reinforcement na provide sa isang learner. So here, Gaines believed that instructional materials should be well designed and organized, and that information should be presented in a clear and structured manner. So yung feedback na sinabi ko kanina and reinforcement is also important. So as learners, they need to know whether they are on the right track ba or they are need reinforcement to continue practicing and refining their skills. So next slide, please. So here are the 5 categories of learning outcomes. So first, we have the verbal information. It is being able to state ideas, knowledge, knowing that, having declarative knowledge. So yung verbal information, term siya na ginagamit to describe the acquisitions and the understanding of knowledge. It is through the language. So kumbaga it is more on receiving information that can involve no different aspects beyond just memorizing the information, such as understanding the meaning of words, no, the concepts, the being able to communicate effectively using language, and also having good listening and comprehension skills. Like for example, no, when someone's acquire, no, when a learners acquires verbal information, no, about scientific concepts, yung learners is hindi lang nila basta mini-memorize yung definition and definition ng concept, but they also understand how it works, no? Like it can give examples of it in action, no? Use scientific language appropriately, no, to communicate about it. So this is because verbal information involves being able to apply and communicate knowledge, not just recalling it. So sinasabi na yung communication is really effective because it is an essential part of verbal information. So this means no being able to use language effectively, which includes understanding the meanings of words and the concepts. So using also the appropriate language in different contexts and being able to engage in meaningful communication with the others. So next is the intellectual skill. So it is knowing how or having procedural knowledge. So basically, no, it is how we apply knowledge, no, also the understanding and thinking skills to solve, no, the problems and to have decisions and to complete the tasks that are given to us. So it is not just about knowing information like sa verbal information, no, but also it is about being able to use that knowledge, no, effectively in different situation, no, yung sinasabi nga dito na procedural knowledge, no, it is an important component of intellectual skills kasi involves dito yung kung paano natin ipo-perform yung task through a sequence of steps or the procedures. So there are five subtopics, no, of intellectual skills. Next slide, please. Ayan. So here are the five categories of intellectual skills. The first one is the discrimination. It is the ability to distinguish one features of an object or a symbol from another, such as textures, letters, numbers, shapes, and sounds. So basically, it is the ability to, sabi nga dito, distinguish between different, it is between distinguishing between different stimuli or objects, no, based on the characteristics or features. So yung discrimination, it is an important skill in learning kasi involved dito yung like yung mga visual, no, yung auditory or yung other sensory modalities. Like for example, no, a child who can discriminate between letters of the alphabet is more likely to be successful in learning to read. Next is the concrete concepts. This one is the ability to identify class of objects, object qualities, or relation by pointing out one or more examples or instances of the class. So this one is the concept that can be directly experienced or directly observed through the senses. So yung concrete concepts are often easier to understand and learn than abstract concepts because they are more tangible and relatable. Like for example, a child may learn the concept of dog by interacting with and observing the real dogs. Next is the define concepts. Requires a learner to define both general and relation concepts by providing instances to show its definition. So basically, this refers to a concept that is explicitly defined through a set of criteria or characteristics. No, this can often use in educational settings. No, in what way? No, in to teach no a complex or abstract concepts. Like for example, a teacher may define the concept of democracy through a set of key characteristics such as freedom of speech, equal representation, and the rule of law. Next slide, please. Next is the rules. This one naman is the set of principles or guidelines that govern uh, the behavior or decision making. So the rules, no, can be explicit or implicit, and it is often used to provide structure and guidance in learning or social situations. For example, a student may learn a set of classroom rules that define appropriate behavior during the class. So next is the higher order rule. It is a process of combining rules by learning into more complex rules used in problem solving. So it is the process that is more abstract and generalized rule or principle that can be applied across multiple situations or context. So it is often require higher level thinking skills such as on how we analyze, no, how we synthesize, and how we evaluate, no, informations or the um learning. So for example, a student who understands the higher order rule of cause and effects may be able to apply this rule to analyze and to understand complex historical events. So next slide, please. So the five categories of learning outcomes is the cognitive strategies. It refers to the process that learners guide their learning, remembering, and thinking. So the cognitive strategies, no, it is also refers to the mental process or approaches that individual use to learn, no, remember, and think. So these strategies can help learners become more active and also self-directed and efficient, no, in their learning. And also it can be applied to a variety of learning tasks and context. So by using cognitive strategies, no, mas magiging madali sa mga learners na maging active and ma-engage yung sarili nila sa learning, as well as magiging efficient sila and effective in their use of time and resources. So these strategies can be taught explicitly to learners, and with practice, no, learners can become mas madali na sa kanilang and mag-adapt at using them across a wide range of learning tasks and contexts. And number 4 is the attitude, the internal state that influences the choices of personal actions made by an individual towards some class of things, persons, or events. So this one naman can refer to the external, sabi nga dito, internal state or a mental deposition ng isang learner towards the particular objects or situation. So yung attitude, no, pwede nating masabi na it can be positive, no, negative, or neutral, and they can be shaped by various factors such as personal experiences, no, social, cultural influences, in individual personality traits. So in educational context, no, yung attitudes can play an important role in shaping students' learning experiences and outcomes. So by understanding the role of attitude in shaping behavior and decision making, educators can work to create a positive and supportive learning environment that fosters the positive, positive attitudes towards the learning, and helps students to reach their full potential. And lastly, for the categories of learning outcome is the motor skills, or the precise, smooth, and accurately timed executions of movements involving the use of muscles. They are the distinct type of learning outcomes and necessary to the understanding of the range of possible possible human performance. So, educators, no, play a crucial role in promoting the development of motor skills in children. So, by providing opportunities for physical activity and movement. Um, So because of that, no, educators can help, no, matutulungan sila neto to develop their gross motor skills, no, and also they can provide feedback and support for them, since essential siya nga for carrying out various activities and tasks and educators. So educators can play an important role in promoting the development of these skills. Next slide, please.
So let's proceed on the number 2. Learning hierarchies define what intellectual skills are to be learned and a sequence of instruction. So let me first define what intellectual skills. So when we refer to learning hierarchies, it means that it refers to the process or a sequence or step of the lessons na dapat itackle so that maabot yung tinatawag na intellectual skills. Ito namang intellectual skills refers to the ability academically. So, Gain suggests that learning tasks for intellectual skills can be organized in a hierarchy according to complexity, stimulus recognition, response generation, procedure following, use of terminology, discriminations, concept formation, rule application, and a problem solving. So in short, according to Gain's suggestion, to fasten the to fasten the development of intellectual skills, we should understand first uh, the learning hierarchy, because for him, it will help us to identify the right sequence of instruction. It also help to identify the prerequisites. When we say prerequisites, these are the topics connected to each other. So, sabi po dito that to achieve yung tinatawag na intellectual skills, kailangan matutunan natin yung learning hierarchies. These learning hierarchies is yung pagkasunod-sunod ng mga instructions, activities, tasks to develop a certain learning outcome. So let's proceed on the number 3. Events of learning operate on the learner in ways that constitute the conditions of learning. So this event should satisfy or provide the necessary condition for learning and serve as basis for designing instruction and selecting appropriate media. The theory includes 9 instructional events and corresponding cognitive processes. These events are the organized process on how to properly develop the design for instruction and selecting or of appropriate media to make sure that learning will retain to the mind of the learners. Kung sa number 2 po, diniscuss that learning hierarchy is very important in having intellectual skills. Dito naman po sa number 3 is tinuturo how to achieve and to apply learning hierarchies. So, these are the 9 hierarchies or the events, 9 events of instruction. Number 1, gaining of attention, also known as reception. Here, the focus of the teacher, no, is to get the attention of the listener or their students. So yun number 1. Number 2 is informing learners of the objective, also known as the expectancy. So after gaining the attention or the focus of the listener or the students, the teacher should inform the students or the listener about the objective of the lesson. No, so ano ba yung end goal, yung learning outcome na gustong ma-achieve after the discussion? So next is stimulating recall of prior learning or the what we call retrieval. So just like what I've discussed, no, the first part, that the goal of learning hierarchies is to get also the prerequisites, no, yung pagka-connect-connect. Dito naman yung sa recall part, dito natin i-apply yun, no, yung recalling, kung saan dapat ma-identify ng students, lalo na ng teacher, yung connection between the present lesson from the previous one. So number 4 is presenting the stimulus, also known as the selective perception. So here, you will, after recalling, no, is you will give the definitions, no, yung mga terminologies doon sa topic sa bagong lesson. So next is providing learners guidance, also known as semantic encoding. Here naman po magbibigay ang isang teacher ng examples so that mas maging malinaw yung magiging discussion. So next is the number 6, eliciting performance or the responding. Here, you can give activities or tasks to the students so that malaman natin, no, as a teacher, kung naintindihan ba nila, no, yung discussion. So number 7 is providing feedback or reinforcement. Here, you will give feedback or i-assess nyo na yung naging scores nila based doon sa ginawang activity or task. So number 8, assessing performance or also known as retrieval also, no? So, here naman po sa assessing of performance, dito ginigrade na natin, ina-identify na natin kung mataas ba yung nakuha nila, no? Na yung pagkaunawa, mababa, anong gagawin kapag mababa? So, dito papasok yung tinatawag na remediation. So, number 9 is enhance retention or transfer, show pictures of objects and enhancing retention and transfer, no, also known as generalization. So here naman po is i-make sure natin na talagang na-retain sa mind ng ating mga student yung discussion. By how? By giving another activity. So parang papasok po dyan yung kaninang pagbibigay ng activity doon eliciting performance, no? So, magbibigay ulit tayo ng panibagong activities so that yung mga nag-remedial or yung mga matataas din yung scores, makita talaga natin kung na-retain yung knowledge nila about the lesson. So, to understand more what is 9 events of instruction or how to create the hierarchy of learning is meron po kaming dalawang example. So, let's proceed on the example. So, example 1 includes wait. So, sa example 1 po is ang title ng lesson is equilateral triangle. So number 1 is to give the objective. So the objective is for students to create equilateral triangle, which the target group is the grade 4 pupils. So here, so number 1, the teacher, as number 1, yung gain attention, the teacher show variety of computer generated triangle. So to get the attention nung kanyang student bago simulan yung lesson proper, no, nagpakita siya ng mga computer generated triangle. So we know that grade 4 student, no, ang hilig niyan yung mga presentation na makukulay, no, mga video presentation. So the teacher used that, no, para mag-gain yung attention nila or yung focus. So after gaining the attention, nag-proceed na yung teacher sa number 2, identify objective. So here, nagbigay siya ng question. What is an equilateral triangle? Hindi ito sasagutin ng estudyante, of course, kasi nasa objective pa lang tayo. Pero pinapaliwanag dito ni teacher na itong question na to is at the end of the lesson, masasagot ito paunti-unti, no? So what is an equilateral triangle since it is the lessons all about, di ba? So number 3, recall prior learning. So here, ni-review yung definitions of triangle. So siguro, before nag-discussion ng equilateral triangle, nagkaroon muna ng lesson before ng ang topic is triangle. So that ire-recall ng teacher ngayon yung triangles, no? Yung definition ng triangles para malaman ng kasi nga 'di ba ang goal lang dito ng hierarchy is magkaroon ng connections. So before mag-proceed ng triangle, ng equilateral triangle, nag topic muna sa equilateral. So yun yung re-recall nila, yung triangle. Bago papasok sa number 4, yung present stimulus, yung give definition of equilateral triangle. So here, no, after defining, no, the previous lesson, recalling the previous lesson, is i-connect na ngayon or magkakaroon na ng proper discussion about the present presentation. So number 5 is guide learning. Show example of how to create an equilateral triangle. So after defining what is equilateral triangle, number 5 naman is paano mag-construct or gumuhit, no, ng isang equilateral triangle. So number 6 is elicit performance. So ask students to create 5 different examples. So after defining, no, after recalling, no, nag-proceed sa pagde-define ng lesson proper which equilateral triangle, then nag-proceed sa pagbibigay ng example. So after nun, nagkaroon na ng collaboration and discussion is doon na tayo mag-proceed sa pagbibigay ng activities or task. So here, ang teacher ay nagbigay ang activity na mag-create daw yung students ng 5 different example ng isang equilateral triangle. So after that giving of activities or task, magpo-proceed na po sa provide feedback, no? Check all examples as correct or incorrect. So here, ma-identify na ng teacher kung natuto ba talaga, no? From the previous steps, no? Yung sa discussion. And kung hindi natuto, ano yung gagawin? Yun yung tinatawag na remediation. So after that is assess performance. So here naman po, sa pag-assessing ng performance is magbibigay na tayo ng scores. Okay? Dito na po yung identify natin kung ano yung sunod nating steps. Kung mababa ba sila or mataas. Yun naman yung sa proceed sa number 9, yung enhanced retention or transfer. Show pictures of object and ask students to identify equilateral. So nung nalaman niya yung scores, no, dun sa assessing of performance, umulit ba sila, mataas ba sila, kaya ba nila umulit o hindi? So if papatunayan niya ulit yan, no, magpapa-retake siya ng another activities na nag-show na talagang natuto yung student doon sa discussion. So that's all for my report. Let's proceed on another reporter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eliaso. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Alisa Colin Rodriguez, and I am the next reporter for the example 2 powerful lesson with PowerPoint. Event of instruction that already discussed by Mr. Eliaso. First, gaining attention. Lesson or example, conditioning of learning. Teacher tells learners how she has used PowerPoint in the classroom, shows an example of PowerPoint, asks learners questions about using PowerPoint. Dito, dito titignan ng teacher kung may alam ba yung mga estudyante niya about PowerPoint na ituturo niya sa mga estudyante niya. And mag-ask siya ng question para malaman niya yung knowledge or kaalaman ng mga estudyante na meron siya doon sa PowerPoint na i-discuss niya. Rational, giving background information creates validity. The use of multimedia grabs the audience's attention. Asking question in the beginning creates an interactive atmosphere. Uh, if yun nga yung Q&A na ginagawa ng teacher with the student is already like gaining of attraction kasi mas magiging attentive yung bawat estudyante na makinig at mas magiging engage sila dun sa ituturo nung teacher. Kaya importante din na meron tayong Q&A sa estudyante natin para makuha rin natin yung thoughts nila about sa magiging lesson or sa lesson mismo. Next slide po. Second event of instruction is informing the learner of the objective. Sorry for the typo, it's objective. Lesson example or condition of learning. Teacher says, today we are going to work on using a multimedia presentation software, Microsoft PowerPoint. It helps the learner to understand what they need to learn, why it is important, and why they will be able to do as a result. This can be help to motivate the learner and keep them focused on their learning goals. And second, rationale is make learner aware if what to expect so that they are aware and prepared to receive information. Kailangan parang di ba minsan, kapag nagre-report, meron po tayong objective, the learning objective, yung parang sinasabi na po agad kung ano yung magiging outcome after nung presentation or nung ah, report para aware yung mga estudyante kung ano ba dapat yung mga i-expect nila during the discussion. Next slide po. Stimulating recall of prior learning that Mr. Eliaso said earlier, that is recalling what's you discussed already, like kahapon ito yung di-discuss natin, but today ito naman yung i-discuss natin, yung progress ng lesson. And example, condition of learning. For this particular group of learners, they have learned previously about Microsoft Windows particularly. Microsoft Word teacher associate with knowledge with lesson at hand. Parang kahapon, ang pinag-aralan natin is Microsoft Word, but today we will proceed in a PowerPoint presentation. Parang gano'n yung progress Yung ire-recall muna and then tsaka tayo papakilala sa mga estudyante ng panibagong topic para hindi sila ma-bombard ng information. Third, when learning something new, accessing prior knowledge is a major factor in the process of acquiring new information. Like what I've said earlier, na kailangan ini-inform natin yung estudyante natin kung ano ba yung ituturo natin para prepared sila, para hindi sila mabombard ng maraming information at di sila malito at the same time. Next po. Presenting the stimulus, teacher gives student hands-on step-by-step tutorial on using Microsoft PowerPoint. Dito na malalaman ng teacher kung may natutunan ba yung mga estudyante once they do hands-on and step-by-step tutorial on Microsoft. Kasi kung may natutunan sila while using Microsoft PowerPoint, magagawa na nila yon even without asking for help sa teacher. Doon na makikita yung progress ng estudyante sa tinuturo natin. And third, the goal is information acquisition. Therefore, the stimulus employed is written content and the actual software program. Next slide po. Five, providing learners guidance. Teacher demonstrate how to create a presentation. Teacher moves around and shows student how to use the tools to type in the text, add links and symbol, clip art, insert videos, diagram, use sound, etc. Learners are allowed to try tools, demonstrate partners on their computers. Katulad dun sa hands-on, sa hands-on, ayun yung lalagay na nila yung mga kaalaman nila. Dito, iga-guide pa sila, magbibigay pa rin ng guide yung teacher about sa create ng PowerPoint kasi ito na yung parang ano to, halos lahat ilalagay na nila, iko-compile na nila. Hindi lang basta magke-create sila ng PowerPoint, gano'n. Dito meron na siyang videos, inserting ng image, inserting ng text. Kailangan pa rin ng guide ng estudyante kasi hindi naman gano'n agad-agad, 'di ba? Kahit tayo, hindi natin agad-agad na alam kung paano gumawa ng PowerPoint. That's why, student needs a learner's guide. Provide That's why, as teacher, need to guide our student. And next, teacher uses discovery learning because learners are adults and it gives them the freedom to explore. Teacher facilitate the learning process by giving hints and cues when needed. Since the audience are preserves with some basic level of technology skills and the software program is easy to follow and understand, guidance is minimal. Next slide po. Eliciting performance, teacher as student to demonstrate PowerPoint tools. Eliciting performance, it is important step in the learning process because it helps learners to apply what they have learned and develop their skills and knowledge by providing clear expectation, using authentic tasks like teacher as the student to create or demonstrate a PowerPoint tools. Providing feedback using peer and self-assessment, providing opportunities for reflection. By using a variety of assessment methods, educator can effectively elicit performance from learners and help them to succeed in their learning journey by doing the PowerPoint presentation. Rationale is requiring the learner to produce based on has been taught, enables learners to confirm his or her learning. Was the teacher as the student, ano yung natutunan mo, ano yung nagustuhan mo sa paggawa ng PowerPoint. Yung student, agad-agad masasagot niya agad yung tanong ng teacher. Kasi nga, nag-gain siya ng knowledge. And then, seven is giving feedback. teacher gives immediate feedbacks to learners after facilitating responses. It's important to give feedback to our student so they can do better next time. Third, regular feedback enhances learning. Next po, 8. Assessing performance, assign a practice activity, create an electronic storybook using Microsoft PowerPoint, teacher check works. Ito na yung parang tapos na silang mag-explore, tapos na silang gamayin yung PowerPoint. This is the time that they will do their own PowerPoint presentation with a specific title each student. And also, teacher will evaluate the work of the student, evaluating how well a learner has acquired the knowledge and also skills or competencies being taught of the teacher. Effective performance assessment includes using multiple assessment methods like this. That here an example: teacher asks student to create a PowerPoint with a specific topic. And independent practice forces student to use what they're learning and apply it. Assessing such give instructor a means of testing student learning outcomes. In practice, hindi lang naman to sa school na kailangan na i-practice ng student, they can also practice it at home. So, mas magiging magaling pa sila at mas masasanay sila sa paggawa ng PowerPoint. Next po. Enhancing retention and transfer. Teacher asks learners to create activity using PowerPoint presentation for 6th grade pupils. Teacher also assigned learner to teach another learner how to make PowerPoint presentation. It means helping learners retain what they have learned and apply it in a new situation. Strategy include providing opportunities for practice. That's why I mentioned earlier here, learner to teach another learner. So parang ipapasa ko yung knowledge ko sa isa kong kaklase o schoolmate, ganon. Para para malaman din nila kung paano yung paggawa ng PowerPoint. Parang pinapasa-pasa yung knowledge. And then last, applying learning in a real-life situation is a step forward mastery learning. And that's all for my report. Next slide po. Thank you.